Welcome to GMP, the Great, Glorious, and Glamorous, aka the Going North Podcast, where authors from around the world help you realize that success is tangible. You'll leave with at least one new piece of inspiration or information to help you keep going north. Now let's get on with the show. And today on the Super Special Awesome podcast for super special awesome humans who are ordinary just like you and I, but do extraordinary things to help other folks find their own extraordinary. It's another day on the Going North podcast with another super special awesome human with a book, or should I say multiple books as well. And this guy right here is an entrepreneur, baby. I like to joke around and call myself the Chocolate Adonis, but I think we have an actual Chocolate Adonis on the freaking show today because my goodness, today's freaking guest, my friends, today's guest is a micro commitment strategist who loves to help his clients create online coaching programs using their knowledge and expertise. And he also helps his clients to develop a marketing process that would enable them to generate leads and clients for their coaching program. So let's give it up for the one, the only VA himself, not Virginia, and no, not virtual assistant, but the one, the only Vladimir Adonis. How you doing today, Vlad?
Hey, how's it going, Dom? Thank you very much for that awesome introduction. I'm doing very well. Thank you. And how are you doing?
Man, I'm doing fabulous, man. I'm doing fabulous, man. Like my man's been on this train, guesting on shows, building that funnel, getting folks to, well, not fall into the funnel, but just jump into the funnels.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. That's pretty awesome.
Oh man, but yeah, well, as you know, with all introductions, they're not allowed to be 7 days long. So mind filling in any cavities I missed about you?
No worries. So I'll give you the 2-minute version of my backstory as opposed to the 2-hour version. So we don't just I didn't just wake up one day and say, hey, you know what, I just want to be an entrepreneur. So I'm going to give you a bit of a backstory. My most recent job is I worked as an executive for a small university, and I did that for about 12 years. But 5 years into that role, though, I said to myself, I don't see myself continuing down this path forever. So I had to answer a very important question, and that was, if I don't continue down that path, what am I going to do next? And this was maybe about 5 years ago or so. And I said to myself, I want to be an entrepreneur. Now, that's pretty vague and that's pretty broad. And as you can probably imagine, if you surveyed a lot of people who's currently employed, a lot of them are going to have the desire to go into entrepreneurship. So I said to myself, well, having a desire is one thing, and then going into entrepreneurship is another thing. I didn't want to be that individual that said that, you know what, I want to go into entrepreneurship, but never actually do anything about it. So what I said to myself back in 2015 is I said that I want to go into a business that's evergreen and a business that's going to be around for a very long time. And the business model that made sense to me at that time was the dating industry. I said, you know what, the dating sites appear to be doing well, and the dating sites appear to be something that's going to be around for a very long time. So I decided to hire and pay a guy close to $30,000 to build me a dating / a dancing type of a website, because that was going to be my vehicle into entrepreneurship. The site was built, and a year and a half from the time that I paid the guy, I was able to launch the site. But to my surprise, I had a hard time getting members. I had a hard time growing it. And keep in mind, I paid $30,000 for this project. So I wasn't going to just be like, you know what, this stuff doesn't work out. Let me just move on and go do something else. I had a lot of skin in the game. So I went to work to learn how to do lead generation, how to do marketing, and how to do Facebook ads, just so that project could be viable. In about 7 months in, the project started to pick up. But unfortunately, I learned that I was in violation of copywriting laws. And for that reason, I had to shut down the entire site. The reason why I was in violation of copyright laws is because the members of that site had the ability to upload content, music and music videos, etc. And I don't have the rights to any of that content. So I had to shut that whole thing down. I was pretty bummed by it, right? Because by that time I spent a lot more than 30 grand. So I said to myself, what am I going to do next? I simply decided to just take what I had learned, my knowledge and my expertise. And at that time, it wasn't much, maybe about 7, 8 months in. And I decided to just started hosting workshops using Meetup in my local area for 2 reasons. Reason number one, I wanted to see if the knowledge I had gained, if other entrepreneurs could benefit from it. Reason number two, I thought maybe one day I can turn that into a business. So after hosting close to 60 workshops, feeling comfortable with my craft, validating what I knew, I decided to leave my full-time job to go into entrepreneurship full time, helping other individuals take their knowledge and their expertise to turn it into coaching programs and also to help them with the marketing process as well. So that's my backstory, and that's what's gotten me to the point where I'm at today.
One heck of a powerful story, man. You're probably the first person that I know of that actually spent 30 grand on a website. My God, man, it must have been one heck of a process, man. Like it's like shoot, like talk about sunk cost. Is like, all right, I'm already in here. Like I got skin in the game for real. Like I probably spent my whole freaking college tuition or mortgage all in this. Like I gotta really do this thing. It's like as soon as you get that taste of success, it's like, hey, what you doing there, buddy? Like, even though we got well, then again, this is brought before TikTok and all the other stuff, but it's like, hey, you're infringing on our rights and whatnot, the copyright law, and it's like you got to shut this thing down, or we're gonna take you and your next generation's wealth if you don't stop playing. And it's like, oh crap. So my goodness, man, I'm glad you're able to turn that lemon into some lemonade, man.
Yeah, certainly. Certainly. And, one of the main reasons why, I took that risk because I could have been that person that, 5 years later, 6 years later, I could have been talking about, right, starting a business. I could have been talking about, hey, one day I want to go ahead and be an entrepreneur. And I knew the danger of that because I had at one point been that person, and I know a lot of individuals who's in that boat. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that, right? Like having an employer and having somewhere for security purposes to go and work, there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. I love that model. Honestly, it was a lot less challenging, a lot less headache. There's a lot more consistency in that type of model. But at some point in time, some of us we just make decisions, right? We make decisions and we say, hey, you know what? This path that I'm going down, I just want to go ahead and see what else is out there. I didn't want to say, you know, be 60 years old and say to myself, I wonder what would have happened if I tried to go into that entrepreneurship stuff. And again, it's not for everyone. I just wanted to see, what else is out there, what else is there to life, and that was one of the ways that I decided to take that step.
That's what I'm talking about, man. That's what I'm talking about. And one of the major things about that is once you got to that point where you're able to really turn your lemons to lemonade, like how was that transition period of just taking the skills that you learned and then starting those meetup groups and to now to where you are today, where you're running all these Facebook ads and have this awesome Facebook community encouraging others to do the same. So how was that transition process? Because a lot of people they still may be in that transition process thanks to the pandemic from last year.
Yeah, I wish I could say that it's easy, but as you probably know, anything that's worth having is definitely not easy.
Mhm.
And sometimes if we obtain things that are easy for us, we don't necessarily value it. I think it would have been true for me, as well. I had learned a knowledge and an expertise that had helped me for my dating site. And I had an inclination that, maybe this knowledge and all this expertise might be able to help other individuals. But at the same time, I had reservations. I don't know if you're familiar with Meetup. It's a huge organization that people meet around their knowledge and or their expertise. And there's usually an organizer. At the time when I was employed, I had noticed that there were individuals that were hosting these workshops based on their knowledge and their expertise. I had attended a few of those workshops, and after attending a few of those workshops, I said to myself, you know what? This is something that's possible for me. I have a knowledge, and that knowledge appears as though it could help other individuals. So I decided to sign up for Meetup as an organizer, and I decided that I was going to be hosting a workshops. And I remember scheduling workshops maybe a couple of weeks out just to give myself some time to prepare for the workshop. Well, shortly after scheduling the workshop, I decided to cancel the workshop out of fear that I just didn't have enough knowledge and or expertise and that I just wasn't ready. So I decided, you know what, I'm not going to do this thing. And I decided to go ahead and cancel it. It wasn't until maybe a couple of months down the line, I started to watch some content on YouTube, and I was seeing some individuals that were producing content, and those content to me just wasn't 100% polished per se. And it was that piece of content that gave me the motivation to say, hey, you know what, if this person could be brave enough to publish content that doesn't appear to be 100% polished, then I think I have a chance to do the exact same thing. So I went back to Meetup, reactivated my account, and I decided to move forward with launching my first workshop. My first workshop, I had three people that came to the workshop, right? Humble beginnings. and all three of them gave me positive reviews, and all three of them were very happy with the content that I published, right? So that was the beginning part of me, doing that and launching my first workshop.
That's what I'm talking about, dude. And you're so darn right, man. I know what you feel about the whole three people showing up and you had enough room for maybe 30 or 100 people. I could resonate with that, man. Humble beginnings are real. Humble beginnings are real. Yes, indeed. Because, and to be honest, they're actually better to happen in the beginning as opposed to later down the road. Because that way you won't have as much mountain to fall off from grace, metaphorically speaking.
Yeah, certainly. And for me at that time, I wasn't, 100% polished, right? So a small, intimate audience was ideal, for me. And I went through that process for about 2 years, 60 workshops. I did all of those workshops, for free, just to be able to validate and to be able to get proof of concept. And so I started off. I said it to say I started off with not charging anything. Then I went to a model where I was just charging maybe $9 a month for my knowledge and my expertise. And then eventually I started charging a couple of hundred and worked my way up to charging four figures. So I'm saying all of that to say that, right, we all have a beginning, we all have a start whereby we don't always start off with being 100% confident, and we work our way up to that level. And we do that just by taking small baby steps and working our way up.
Amen to that. Amen to that. And that's so great that you're able to do that because, yeah, humble beginnings are really, to be honest, required. They're kind of required. And if and like $9 a month for your expertise, like yeah, at first, folks may be thinking like, man, I can sneeze and that'll pop out eventually. But like $9, multiple people, like freaking 100 people, $9, $900 a month in your pocket, like over time, and just multiply that 12 months over. If all 100 people paying you $9 a month for 12 straight months with no issues. Like that's pretty decent income right there for like a side hustle. Like that's really freaking powerful, man. So with being able to get to the point now where you're obviously way past that, like what's probably what advice would you give to those who may be starting right now to try to maybe because it sounds like you may have your own membership program in addition to everything else you're doing.
Yeah, certainly. I have a membership program. I have coaching programs. So the thing that I would say to people is, proof of concept. The thing that I learned is that if an individual sign up for to consume content for free, a portion of those individuals will go ahead and pay you for it. So let me just use just a hypothetical situation. Let's just say that you're running a workshop and you have 50 people who sign up for the workshop for free. Even though they sign up for the workshop for free, you can go ahead and provide value to those individuals after the workshop. You can give them the opportunity to take the next step with you. In my experience, a portion of those individuals can go ahead and take the next step with you and decide to pay you. So I would say using a workshop and using content to validate concept and to get proof of concept is a very great way to get started. And then you can go ahead and work your way up to being able to offer those individuals the next step because they wouldn't be attending the workshop if there wasn't a pain point and if they were not trying to solve a problem. In this day and age, there's a lot of content that's readily available for people to consume, right? So if they're coming to your workshop or if they're watching your replay or whatever the case may be, that is a sign that they are trying to solve their problem, and they will certainly be in a position and or be willing and able to provide you with some funds to be able to help you to be able to solve that problem.
Hey, sounds good right there. Sounds good right there. That's right. Have that content out there. That's a proof of concept that, hey, you're listening to an expert. You're watching an expert in action. Like they got some good stuff here for you, especially free in the beginning. And that way, folks eventually drive themselves over to the paid stuff. Cause, like, hey, if the free is good, the pay's definitely got to be good. So, my goodness. So, with that content in particular, was video where you started out? Because I know you had a book that was like back in 2017 you published. Because a lot of folks may be thinking like, man, it's like, do I start Facebook Live? Do I write a book? Like for those who may be looking just to start to create their own pieces of content, where do you recommend folks to start?
Certainly, I really resonate with video now And I resonate with more intimate in-person type workshops. So the place that I recommend people to start is to do like a Zoom session where you're inviting people over to cover some type of a content. The way that I started is I started with in-person workshop. And the reason why I started with in-person workshop is at the time I was working for a university. I had access to classrooms, I had access to space, and I saw that other people was doing it. So I saw proof of concept through other individuals. But in today's environment, what I would have done differently is I would do very small but intimate workshops around my topic. And I would say, hey, this week I'm hosting a workshops around how to create a landing page that converts. Is going to be intimate, is going to be small. I'm only looking for 5 to 10 people. Register here, and here's how you can go ahead and attend it. And I would do workshops like that just to get proof of concept, just to validate and be able to ascend and offer those individuals the next step. So that's where I would start if I had to redo it over again and I didn't have the same access and the same capabilities I had in the past.
Ah, there you go. There you go, indeed. All right, so video is definitely where it's at because it is probably the most powerful way to connect with people. So for those who may be scared, some may be like, "Oh man, I ran out of makeup. I don't want to really use makeup or whatever." Like, "Oh, I don't want to do live video. What if the technology doesn't work? What if I talk for like 40 minutes and nobody hears me?" Like, any advice for those who may want to start doing live videos, but they may lack the confidence to do so?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Honestly, when it boils down to it, it's all about repetition. The very first time you go and do a live video, if it's your very first time, you're not going to be good at it, to be very honest with you. Right now, I'm in the middle of a video challenge, and I'm in the middle of a 60-day video challenge whereby my goal is to publish 60 pieces of content over the next 2.5 months, right? So it's a 60-day video challenge. And the reason why I am doing that is I know the more content I publish, the better I get. If I go back to say video number one was okay, but if I compare video number one to video number 30 is a lot better than video number one. So the best way for you to get better at publishing content, the best way for you to get better at video is to just start publishing video content. That is the only way for you to get better because what you can do is after you publish video number one, you can go back to video number one and say, hey, you know what? After reviewing video number one, these are the things that I would say I can do a little bit better when it comes time for me to publish video number two, so on and so forth. So the best way to get better is just by publishing and being consistent with it.
Oh, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Indeed. That's right. 2 month, 60-day video challenge, baby. That's what I'm talking about. It's so darn true. Like, you got definitely got to get started, definitely got to be consistent because that's really where the magic happens is consistency. And a lot of things come to mind with that is the fact, well, the main thing is a lot of folks may think, like, oh god, 60 days, like what we're gonna do? Like I only got like 3 good stories, and it's only good for like maybe 3 days. Like, how we gonna do 60 days of content? Any advice for those who may be lacking in the content category or may be listening to that negative self-talk of beating themselves down? It's like, oh man, 60 days, I only got 3 days of content.
Yeah, so that's a very good point. I think content is all about perspective. There's a lot of individuals, luckily for us, that is publishing content on a very consistent basis, and those individuals, like yourself, for example, right? You to date you have about 300 plus episodes. People can gain inspiration from that content, and by the time they gain inspiration from that content, they can go ahead and share their own unique perspective. I'm talking about lead generation, I'm talking about marketing, and I'm talking about things that's been around for a very long time. I'm talking about things that people have published so much content around. They're not my original ideas. The reason why I'm able to publish as much content as I'm able to publish is because I am a student of the game. How am I a student of the game? I have tons of books that's related to lead generation, that's related to marketing. I listen to podcasts. I consume YouTube videos. So because I am consistently consuming content, it gives me the ability to be able to provide my perspective to my audience, right? So that's one of the things that you can do, and that's one of the things that I encourage people to do, so that that way they won't be like, well, I've run out of I've run out of content. So lean in to those individuals who's already come before you. I'm sure based on your topic, based on your area of expertise, you can find so much content that is out there. You want to go ahead and consume that content, because the more you consume that content, the better you're going to become, right? Reading is fundamental. Listening to content is fundamental. And then that's going to give you the inspiration and the ability to be able to repurpose some of that content with your new ideas and with your new perspective. For instance, some of the content that I share around lead generation and around marketing, I am simply just weaving in my experience. I mean, weaving in my experience around um, when I launched my dating site. I'm weaving my experience based on when I worked as an executive. I'm using all of these experiences and all of these analogies, and that's what makes content unique. There's no one else out there that's published a dating site that's called Admire Dance. There's no one else out there that's gone through that exact same experience as it relates to publishing that dating site, and they didn't have the experience, the ups and the downs that I had. So I can come in with my unique perspective. Although I didn't create marketing, marketing has always been around, but marketing through the lens of my dating site is my unique perspective, right? I was a former executive working in a financial aid office, and I've had unique perspective and unique experiences that I can that I can correlate to some of the experiences that people will have as an entrepreneur. So I take all of those things, my experiences, my expertise, and the content of other individuals, and I weave all of that into my publishing strategy.
Oh, yeah, my man's dropping some hot fire, baby. That's right. Marketing through the lens of his unique perspective, baby. That's right. So the person listening right now is a unique perspective that the world needs to hear. And some folks may be thinking, man, what makes you so unique? Like, my goodness, today's guest, Vladimir, the victorious Vlad, my man spent 30 grand on a website that was going to dominate the freaking world. But if folks didn't come at him for copyright crap, then he probably would have still had that website today. And we probably had more people together dancing online before TikTok even came around. So, yeah, my man's got a unique perspective here. So, think to yourself, like, what's your unique perspective that you can share with the world and have a great strategy to get yourself out there? So, with this wonderful 60-day video challenge you're doing and all this other stuff you're doing with marketing and helping coaches get more clients, like, is there a question that you wish you'd be asked more often when you're on the guest side of the game on these podcasts?
Yeah, so one of the questions that I think people should consider more often, specifically individuals who were me at one point. So at some point, I was employed and I desired to use my knowledge and my expertise to go into business. So one of the main things that I think people should consider is, what is my marketing and or my sales process that I can use that is effective enough, that's going to work with strangers. A lot of times when we first launch businesses, we have wonderful communities, our friends and our family members, and those individuals support us and those individuals may buy from us. But from a sustainability standpoint, the number of people within your immediate support network, your friends and your family, is small. It's very hard for you to sustain a business with just those individuals. So I think people need to consider, okay, outside of my friends and my family, do I have a process whereby I can go out to the marketplace, present to the marketplace what it is that I do, and based on that, there's a process for people who don't know me at all to go through a process to become aware of who I am, engage with me, become a lead, and then eventually do business with me. So I think when you have that process dialed in and when you have that process in place, that gives you a little bit more proof of concept that, hey, you know what, I can make this thing work without my friends and my family because I have a proven sales and marketing process.
Sounds good indeed. Sounds good indeed. Because, like, especially when it comes to friends and family, like, you may get some support in the beginning if you're lucky, but as you go further down the road, that road gets a little thinner in terms of friends and family and familiar faces. You start seeing more strangers, and then they become the new metaphorical family for you.
Most certainly. I would certainly agree with that.
Yes, sir, indeed. Yes, sir, indeed. Well, we're coming down to the magical question that every guest gets to receive, and that is if it'll wake up tomorrow and you were 25 again, but this time in the current year of 2021, with all of your knowledge and experience, what advice would you give to yourself?
The advice that I would give to myself is to build the story by taking calculated risks, because I think stories are changing the world. People that things that people do is what changed the world. So the fact that you've published 374 plus content, there's someone that's going to look at that and say, okay, you know what? This is indeed possible. And because they're seeing that through you and through the things that you've done, they're going to go ahead and take that action and take that step. Prior to me, there's an individual that published a dating site, and I saw that that dating site model was very viable and that it worked. That person took a risk, and because that person took the risk and that person had a certain level of success, it was a calculated risk, it may have been a big risk. Because that person had a certain level of success, it allowed me to take that risk and allowed me to kind of just build stories. So I believe that we all can make the world a better place by taking calculated risks and by just building those stories. And I love stories because I lean on stories all of the time, just for support and just for encouragement. Sometimes when I'm consuming content on other people's platform, it's just simply to kind of just hear, okay, what did this individual have to go through, and what are some of the insights and what are some of the things that this person is sharing with me or the audience that's going to help me to shortcut right my success per se, and that's going to help me to avoid some of those same pitfalls.
Woo! That's what I'm talking about right there. Solid advice right there. Solid advice right there. That's right, folks. Take some calculated risks. So that way, when it comes time when you're close to the deathbed, you're like, man, I don't have that many regrets or no regrets at all. And it's like, yes, it's all because I took that calculated risk. And nowadays, you can document it for the world to see. If you so choose, that is. Like there's vulnerability and then there's just wait and there's TMI. Like know the difference as well. Like stay in the vulnerability era when needed, avoid the TMI era, and then have stories to share.
Definitely.
Yeah. Yeah, I gotta throw that disclaimer out there for the people that'll actually listen, because some people use social media and other stuff to air their dirty laundry out there, and it's like, nah, fam, like, nah, keep that in the washing machine or something.
Keep that to yourself.
Yeah, keep it in there too. Like, please keep it in there. Like, no TMI, we good over here, fam. But for those who don't believe in TMI and they want to learn more about what my man Vlad is doing to help other coaches and folks grow their businesses, what's the best way for folks to do so?
So yeah, certainly. Thank you very much. There's two ways that people can connect with me. One of the ways is that currently right now I have a community, and the community is for coaches and consultants that are looking to use social media marketing, Facebook ads, and just overall marketing strategies to grow their business. I share a lot of content inside of that community, and that community is a Facebook group, and you can gain access to that community by going to Black Creators Connect. Black Creators Connect. So that's resource number one. Resource number two is an optimization process that you can go through if you're launching a marketing campaign for the very first time and you want to make sure that it's fully optimized and you're not necessarily leaving holes in the marketing process. You can gain a free optimization video by simply going to vladadonis.com, VLADADONIS.com.
Woohoo! Well, there you have it, folks. Check out that wonderful Facebook group, Black Creators Connect, indeed. So that way you can get some of that BCC action that'll help you advance, indeed. That's right, folks. I wasn't joking about the chocolate Adonis in here, baby. That's right, because he's in the building. That's right, creating that content, helping you create that content, get inspired to create that content, and check out more of what he's doing on Adonis.com. Indeed, we'll put all that in the show notes, indeed. So check it out, like 77 library books. So any parting words before we close up shop, my man?
Well, thank you. I just want to thank you for what it is that you're doing, the guests that you're bringing on, the content that you are publishing. Content, to me has been a big deal. I continue to consume content just for inspiration and just for what's possible. And I think the more people that you bring on, the more your listeners and the people who get the option to listen to this will see what is indeed possible. Stories change the narratives, and that's essentially what you're doing is you bring in stories on to this podcast and be able to change the narrative. So, kudos to you, Dom, and thanks for the invite and keep plugging away.
How's it going, you super special, awesome human? Since you made it to the end of this episode, it looks like you really enjoyed yourself. Since you enjoyed this episode, be sure to share it with at least 3 people in your network and tell them what you really liked about this episode. Heck, even shoot myself or the guest an email and let them know what you liked most about this interview so that way they can stay inspired to keep pushing out great work.